Okay, we're going to move on to tree squirrels. So tree squirrels are a problem from time to time. There's several problems they have that cause deleterious effects for us. One is that they strip trees, and they usually do this in the winter for moisture or micronutrients. They will actually go up, strip the bark off, lick it, and drop it. And if they do this, as you know, around the complete branch, that's going to kill that branch. Now, they usually don't do that much unless it's a dry winter or winter where these micronutrients are not there in another manner. And it's hard to find that. Can you supplement? Oh, they're going after my tree, so I'll put more corn out for them and more nuts. That usually does not do it. It's something about that they want that bark. And I have seen some trees right here in eastern Nebraska where they've stripped the tree. Usually they're elms, because elms have a lot of sugar under those under that bark, and they really strip it a lot. And those, you have to get after them. There is some repellents that work when they're marking a tree. That's for their territory, but the repellents don't work when it's a stripping because they want that nutrients and water so bad. They have to need it to live. So then you have to resort to trapping that particular squirrel. And they have territory, so usually you only have to trap the one that's in that particular area, that one or up to 4 or 5 in that particular area for trapping. The other thing that they do is they will steal things from your garden. They love strawberries and other fruits, and they do take those bites out of tomatoes as well. And talking to people, I swear they must be on Twitter or Facebook, because you go, oh, my tomatoes are almost ready. I'm going to go out tomorrow and pick them. Well, they know that, and they go out that night, and they take a bite out of every one. So I think they're on Facebook or Twitter, because they seem to know that so well. That is a harder problem. You could, as your fruit is getting ready, put bird netting just over the top and then drape it on the sides. They don't like going underneath that as much if they don't have to, and that would stop them. And then all you do is drape it off the plant and take your fruit. And that, by putting the bird netting draped over your plants to the ground, and you may have to put some weights on it to hold it on the ground, it also protects your fruit from birds like crows that may go after it. And it's fairly easy and inexpensive to do that. You know, people say, well, I can spray it with cayenne pepper. Yeah, that probably will work. They'll bite one and not want that fruit again. But unless you like a lot of hot sauce on your tomatoes, you're not going to get that flavor off that tomato. It'll go right through the skin and be in that tomato. So if you like hot salsa, then it's, you're doing 2 things at once: keeping the squirrels a while and getting your salsa hotter. So that you're going to use that to make tomatoes. The other thing with squirrels, their big thing is they love nuts. That's their main food, and they will take the nut and they will bury them, and that does put a divot in your grass. Usually it's not a big problem. Sometimes they forget where they dug them, and so they'll dig a bunch of holes, not finding one. And they do, if they think someone's watching, even a person or another squirrel, they'll have a nut in their mouth or not have a nut in their mouth, and they'll dig a hole, and then they'll go over here and dig another hole. That's so the other squirrels and you as a predator don't know where they put their nuts. Okay, they're tricky that way. They will do blank holes purposely. So people say, and if you have them digging to bury nuts in your garden, or if you have a big pot, get chicken wire right when you plant your bulbs, put it over. The plants will come up through the chicken wire. They can't dig in your pot, okay, after your bulbs. And then at the end in the fall, you pick up the chicken wire, and it pulls all the dead parts out of your pot. And then you can just clean your pot all one way. And it stops anything from digging in there, including cats, which can be a problem in some big potted plants, especially with sandy soil. Okay. Go to the next one. Oh. Any other questions? Yes.
We seem to be in a bit of a transition here. I'm seeing more black squirrels than I've ever seen before.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Question says, I'm seeing more black squirrels. They're all fox squirrels. The black squirrel is just a mutation called melanism, and it's not a double recessive. It's only a single recessive. So when you get that gene in the population, you'll get more and more. And it doesn't, I mean, we have them on campus. Some have a red tail but black body. Some have a red squirrel body with a black tail. It doesn't mean anything. They're not protected in any way. Everything we have in Nebraska is the fox squirrel. And it's just a mutation. It's called melanism. And so it doesn't mean anything. And it does become more prominent because it doesn't need double recessive. It just needs single recessive.
So here's some squirrel questions now.
Good.
How do you stop squirrels from eating ornamental pumpkins and gourds on your porch? It's a
Oh, that's a hard one. They're probably not the main food. And this is the same way you can stop them from chewing your deck and chewing your garage door. That's usually territorial marking or just a extra food. You can use a repellent for that. So squirrels, if they have a nest in the tree, any tree that you see that big nest which made out of leaves, look at the base of that tree. You'll see chew marks. What they do, the male squirrel who's in that area will go up to that tree almost every morning in territory time, one of their 2 or 3 mating seasons, which is now, June, and possibly July. And they'll notch the base of the tree or your garage door or your pumpkin, and then they'll rub their chin there. And it's squirrel graffiti. Now, what they're saying to the other squirrels is, this is my territory, back off, or this is my food. What you can do is use repellents, work fairly well for that. A mixture repellent is getting vegetable oil, spraying it on the deck, the garage door, or the pumpkin, and mixing a lot of cayenne pepper or jalapeno juice in that. People always ask, how hot do I have to make it? Or how much juice? If you put your finger in it and you go like this and you cry, that's hot enough.
So the next question is, what is the best way to get a squirrel out of your house?
Act like a nut and run out the front door. No. Depends on where it's at. If it's in the attic, I would trap it. Use a cage trap. Open one end. In the cage trap, get some sweet corn, dry sweet corn, or even field corn for them, and put peanut butter on it and put it in the trap. And if they're in the attic, usually you catch them. Now, if you do this near the end of, or about end of March, or the beginning of June, or the beginning of July, you may have babies in the attic. And unlike the bats, if you find the hole where they got into your attic, you have to patch it up with something they can't chew through. They will chew through fascia wood. They'll chew through any kind of caulk, any kind of foam. So you have to use hardware cloth or something that they can't chew through to keep them out from getting into the attic. If it's running around your house, open your doors and windows. They want to get out.
That's the last question so far.
Okay. If there's any other questions about squirrels, and if to get rid of those ones, you cannot. Okay, so we just came to the first animal before, and the rest of them fall under this. We're now talking about animals that come under a 2007 regulation that fur bearers, which are squirrel, think of it as squirrels or above, squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, opossums, anything above. If you cage trap it, or what some people call live trap it, you can, if it's causing a problem, euthanize it properly. You cannot move it more than 100 yards and release it. It's a slow, agonizing death for the animal. You're transmitting diseases, and you're giving the problem to somebody else. It is against regulations to release any animal, squirrel, raccoon, into an area more than 100 yards from where you catch it. Don't do it, please. It's more humane to take that cage, put it in a metal trash can, go to the grocery store, buy 1 cup of dry ice, put it in the metal trash can, put a cup of water in the metal trash can, put the lid on the trash can, walk away for an hour. He'll slowly go to sleep and never wake up. That's a humane euthanization of these animals. All our studies show with using radio collars, if you move it more than 100 yards, it's going to get beat up by everybody else in that territory. It doesn't know where to get food. It doesn't know where to get water. And it's just a slow, agonizing death for that animal. You think you're doing nice bringing the raccoon out to the country? No. You're slowly killing them. Be like me, if you know no Spanish, dropping you in the middle of the worst part of Mexico City with nothing, you won't make it. You're out of territory.
So there's a couple questions.
Okay.
How many babies do squirrels have?
They'll have 4 to 6, 2, and maybe 3 times a year. Beginning of March, beginning of June, and the end of July.
And then the next question is, can you repeat how to do the dry ice?
Sure. For euthanization of these caged animals, so you're putting the whole cage use a metal trash can, galvanized, and you put the cage with a glove on so you don't get bit into the trash can. And you got to make sure that the cage does not stick above the lid or rim of the trash can. Get 1 cup, if it's a bigger animal like a raccoon, 2 cups of dry ice. And you just get that usually from a grocery store. Do not touch the dry ice. Use a glove so you don't burn yourself. Drop the dry ice in the trash can. You don't have to put it in the cage, just on each side of the cage. Then drop 1 cup of water in the trash can. This allows the dry ice to simulate and go from a solid to a gas. That's going to be CO2. Put the lid on, tight, okay? And if the lid pops off, put it back down, because if you have too much pressure, it pops up. If you only put 1 or 2 cups, it shouldn't pop off. Then leave it, I say leave it for an hour, which is overkill, so to speak. Sorry for the pun. But the animal just breathes in the CO2, no oxygen, and it just slowly succumbs from the CO2. It's the same thing they would use when they used to put dogs and cats to sleep at the Humane Society, CO2.